That was a lot of fun. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I actually did. I told the story on one of the shorts about how I remember in the boozling, I was the balloonist pretending to be the damsel, pretending to be someone else or something like that. It was like I was trying to do.
You went 3 layers deep.
Well, because I was like, well, the balloonist, whatever. I can't remember specifically off the top of my head.
You don't want to reveal it too early.
Yeah, you don't want to reveal it.
No,
So I'm like,
fair.
well, what if I pretended to be a damsel, pretending to be something else? So I was like. But I was like 3 layers deep in this lie, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing at the moment.
Welcome to Clocktower.
Yeah. I know. I did the run.
I think I was a player in that game actually.
Yeah, maybe you were actually. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I think you were the act. I think I remember that game because you specifically introduced yourself. Hi everyone, I'm the damsel. And I went.
Yeah,
And
huntsman.
it was my first game, and I didn't know what was
I
going
think that's
on.
because I was the huntsman.
Yeah.
And I.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, my watch will go.
You live here.
I'm on strike. Get out of here. No, you know what I mean. Go for it.
Hi everyone, I'm Ralph here from Board Game Gateway. Welcome. With me I have me,
Hello.
and we have a very special guest this evening. We have Avery.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
So nervous.
Don't be. You'll be a natural. It's all good.
You'll be fine. Today we have a very special episode for you all. We're going to do another deep dive into Sects and Violets, one of the more advanced scripts.
Specifically, whoa. So we're doing a deep dive into sex and violence?
Yeah, it's actually really awkward for me because my dog's name's Violet.
Oh no.
And this is just multiple dogs, and yeah. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's a family-rated show.
If you're just tuning in for the first and you're wondering what the hell we're making a joke about, this is our deep dive into Blood on the Clocktower, with the social deduction game that is basically taking the world by storm. And this is actually our 3rd video in a series that we've kind of got. The first video was actually an interview with the storyteller, Mr. Stephen Medway. Then we did a deep dive into Trouble Brewing, the introductory script.
Yep.
And this is the 3rd video now, which is the Sects and Violence. SECTS. A little bit of...
Just call it SMV.
S-
Let's just go
SMV. What we're
SMV.
talking about.
So this script is off the charts different. It's a lot of interesting characters, which we're going to deep dive and go through. But first, I would like to actually formally introduce Avery to the podcast.
Thank you. Woo! Yeah, he's here. Right. Welcome. Avery is a friend of ours who they like to call them. Oh well, I'm gonna use it because you've asked to. Oh wow. I'm as bad as you.
Excuse me.
One second. Let me take this wire. Okay. Cool. Avery.
He can edit this.
Avery
thing,
likes.
that's the-
Yeah.
Avery likes to refer as the forever storyteller. That's true, isn't it?
Just I guess for the group that
we play with, yeah.
Yeah, the group that we play with. I think that's a bit because I'm one of the more experienced players there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times I'm kind of always thinking about worlds when I'm playing games, and some people I think prefer a bit more of a chill game, and hey, I do also enjoy storytelling. It's one of the only chances I get to storytell as well.
As the forever GM of a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, I feel you on that one. But
Yeah, I mean, I get chances to play games elsewhere, so...
I really
happy to-
enjoy your storytelling.
Well, I'm happy
though.
to storytell.
I know you're always going to get the rules right, and I can always come to you for a clarifying question, and you're going to clarify so much for me, 'cause I'm going to say some stupid stuff tonight.
don't worry, I'm sure. Look, there's going to be plenty of stupid stuff said tonight, but I want to say one of the very first times that I met you, Avery, was you were the storyteller for one of my games, which I remember when Ralph was trying to get me into, coming to the Blood on the Clocktower nights, and you were there as one of, I think, 3 storytellers I think we had rotating through the night. But then I also did get to play a couple of games with you on that night as well, and a couple of custom scripts, and then I've been very lucky enough to play games with you now, at the local meetups. But we're not going to be talking about the games at our meetups. We're going to be talking about this script in front of us. Now, if you're wondering and you want to know more about the introductory or what the game is, this is not the episode for you. I would highly recommend going back and watching our introductory to Trouble Brewing. We, myself and Ralph, we take you through how the game is played, what all the basics of this game are. We will be talking about a couple of more advanced concepts and things in this game, so that could throw you off. If you want to stay and listen, you're more than welcome to. We'll try and keep it all going. I highly do recommend that you also go to our YouTube channel if you're listening to the audio only version of this podcast, where you'll be able to see some of the components that are on the table from the scripts and things like that. that. So that's at BG Gateway on YouTube. But I think, look, we've introduced the players. Let's talk about the script in front of us. Or do we have that I think
We have something special that you sort of...
you've told me
skimmed
about
past.
this, but I don't know what's actually coming, which is going to be great.
I know. It's quite amazing. So Avery is very big into the Blood on the Clock Tower community in Sydney, as well as just online in general.
Yes.
As well. I'm in a few chats and a few Discords, and you might know him as them as AJ as well.
It's been between the two. Just
Between the
there
two.
is a US
The unofficial.
No, so in the US there's someone who's like on the Pandemonium Institute streams that goes by Avery, and so I used to get confused with them quite a lot, which is why I started going by AJ.
Wait, am I employed by TPI or?
No,
I was going to say, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, when I saw your online handle, I was like, I'm sure that's Avery, but I don't know why, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, because and so I just kind of went by AJ, but then just to stop that confusion, really, because I was playing in kind of similar circles, and so people get us confused together. I've only been on the TPI stream once, so I'm not...
I think I watched that stream actually as well, and I was like, I know them. So do you want to show us the initiative that you've done and put together over the last few months?
Initiative is, I think, a strong word. Back in January, I actually sent out a Google form with a survey to play what I call the survey game. Others may know it as Family Feud, but calling it the survey game in order to make sure that there's no issues.
If we ever happen to take this somewhere where there may be people watching, this is not to be confused with the other game.
My family just play Family Food. We just sit and eat. That's all we do.
And so I sent out questions online to the community, and I got actually, I think, a pretty decent response. I think I had over 250 people respond to it, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
And I've actually got I wrote a report with the results here in front of me, and so I'm actually going to ask you two some questions.
Oh God! All right. Okay. Yes. All right. Let's see how we go. All right. I'm channeling. Okay. I'm ready to go. Here we go.
Okay. First question. I think the community's least favorite character is.
Oh, I'm not ready to go. Oh no.
See, I know the answer to this one because you told me this once, and I did guess it, so I have to pass it. It was. I'll give you a clue. It was in our Trouble Brewing, which we did the deep dive on.
All right then.
So people should have heard about this.
Yeah. The one who reads the grimoire every night, whatever that one. I can't remember
the storyteller.
No, not the storyteller. The other one. Who's the other one?
The spy.
Is it the spy who gets to look at the grimoire every night?
The spy was not an option.
Oh,
the spy's awesome.
No one submitted spy.
I don't know. Maybe because they didn't. Okay, then if that's the case, maybe then.
Should we give him a copy of the script? Maybe we've got to help him out.
No, we're fine. I can do this. I think.
Over here.
Oh wait, Ralph. All right, give it here. All right. All right. So, all right, it is going to be
You
the
can never find the script when you need it.
Virgin. Is it the Virgin?
Virgin's so
I
good.
got one more guess.
Last guess.
Virgin's also not on here.
Yeah,
You would've
Virgin's
gotten
powerful.
absolutely nothing.
You haven't played much TB, have you? You got to play.
No, TV is the one that I played the most, but I probably haven't played this role. Librarian.
No, so the
I thought it would have been
top answer is actually the butler.
the butler.
Yeah, the butler's.
Oh, because you can only vote if the person you choose votes.
You know what's crap? I was the butler once, and I chose someone, but that player died.
Yeah, so you can only vote if they use their dead vote.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that was
fantastic.
the top answer. I've also got one more question, and I'll ask for your responses and what you think everyone else's responses
Oh
are.
god,
Okay.
yeah. All right.
So
Okay.
there's no
let's-
wrong answers here.
I know a player. I know a player is the demon when they start bluffing as this character.
Oh, it's got to be the Saint. Like, if I'm thinking if it's Trouble Brewing. But if it's
Anyone
any
could
other-
enter anything. So there's even some experimental characters on here.
The Snake Charmer? Because that's a. I don't know. I got to go Saint on this one, I think. Because the Saint, you kind of trust that person
Raven's
the
Keeper.
whole way.
Okay, so Ravenkeeper's the number 6 answer. There were 12 of 252.
Okay.
Sorry, 12 of 254, actually.
254 characters. Good thing we're doing these deep dives.
No.
People
There
who
were
submitted
th-
their...
There's gonna be more.
they were-
There's gonna be more characters than Pokemon ones.
So
You
there
know.
were 254
Responses.
to the question.
Okay.
38 of them, so there were 38
Okay.
different roles.
I got number
Saint
6.
was actually the top answer.
Saint.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Because I remember my early games
it
of
was
TV. I just like.
There were 60 people who responded to that.
Wow.
One last one, very quickly. It's
remember
actually on the
just-
previous page.
Stay away from the Saint. If someone said Saint to me early, I was like, I'm not nominating you. Don't worry.
If I hear this script is being played, I know I'm saying yes.
S&V. I'll say let's go S&V.
Is it a
Ding, 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 that's the top
Oh,
answer.
okay, cool. Wow, that's
So
pretty cool.
there's something really exciting. So as you were... Tell everyone what you were telling me before we started this podcast recording. So if you want to see more of this...
Keep it in your pants.
Whoa. That's a different...
Oh, that was that. You were. We said a
If
few
you,
things.
specifically,
but-
if you'd like to see more of the game, where will they be able to find? Where will they be able to see this game? What we were just playing.
Yeah, so after I actually ran this, because I ran this as a game online for a couple groups of people, I actually got encouraged by most of the people playing and watching to ask to run this at ClocktowerCon Australia. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it's...
So that's early June, early July.
That's early July. So the 6th to the 7th of July.
Still tickets available.
There are, yes.
Perfect. So that's coming up very shortly. So
Actually, I'll be the one looking in the grimoire for this one.
fantastic. Well, look,
That's really cool.
London ClocktowerCon Australia is coming up. Well, as of the time of this recording, in about 8 weeks from now. So if you haven't got your tickets,
Wow,
you can.
that's
Yeah,
close.
now, yeah. Need a bigger report.
Yeah, no, so if you want to come to that, you are more, make sure you go grab your tickets. Both Ralph and Avery will be in attendance.
Yep.
I won't be because I've got something the next weekend, which we're a big thing we're also planning. But that's for another podcast, which we'll go through. All right, so thank you so much for that, Avery. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of Sects and Violets, shall we, Ralph?
Yeah, I think so. So Sects and Violets keeps the same core mechanics from Trouble Brewing, where everyone sits in a circle, everyone nominates, that sort of deal. That's all the exact same. There is one new gameplay element that I would like to read from the rulebook, and then I think we'll discuss our interpretations of the rulebook just quickly as well. So that mechanic, what is it, Avery?
Madness.
Madness. Survey says. All right. So
I'm glad we're on the same. We're on the same. Yeah.
Oh crap. All right. So mad. A player who is mad about something is trying to convince the group that something is true. Some players are instructed to be mad about something. If the storyteller thinks that player has not tried to convince the group of that thing they were instructed to be mad about, then a penalty may apply. Some players are instructed to not be mad about something. If the storyteller thinks that a player has tried to convince the group of that thing, then a penalty may apply. So that's the wording straight from the glossary of the rulebook. But Madness, I think, has sort of taken a life of its own, just a little bit away from the rulebook. I've played many games with lots of different storytellers, and I feel like Madness sometimes has a bit of a loose feel to it.
There's definitely different ways that people can, I guess, interpret madness. I've played in games where it's like you have to actively convince people. Like, if, for example, there's a role in here, the Serenovus.
Yeah, we'll start.
Which-
Let's just
Sorry.
start. Let's just start with our deep dive. 100%. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
Who makes.
So that's a minion.
Yes, it's a minion that makes a player mad as a good character. And there's also another one, the mutant. If someone is mad about being an outsider, they might be executed.
And the mutant is an outsider.
And the mutant themselves is an outsider.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate sometimes, for example, for a mutant who is made mad that they are the sweetheart. Because they...
So the sweetheart, it says, when you die, one player is then drunk for the rest of the game.
And that's an outsider.
And that's an outsider, yeah. So a mutant can't say, I'm the sweetheart, because the mutant might get that penalty of death.
However, if they're mad, they kind of have to.
Well, and that's so.
And
This
so
is
that's
that's the thing.
interaction.
Yeah.
So this is what blew my mind the very first time I played S&V about madness, which is someone said, well, they're maybe mad about being something. And I went, what does that mean? And they went, well, they have to tell us that they are.
have to actively
They have
convince
to try
you.
and convince
Yeah,
us that they're
yeah.
that. And I went, okay, but then I looked at the mutant and went, but if I'm the mutant and I have to actively tell you I am the sweetheart, then I might die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I love how, like, if you go back to our interview with Stephen, the creator of the game, he purposefully said he added words like might because you don't know what the storyteller is feeling at that moment.
yeah. And like, there's also, I've had games and I've seen storytellers who treat madness as you have to act as if you are the character that you're being made mad as. And so, going back to Trouble Brewing, if someone's made mad as the Raven Keeper, for example, some storytellers might rule it that you have to be telling people or trying to convince them you're the Raven Keeper. Some people are like, it's fine if you act as though you're the Raven Keeper by saying that you're powerful information roles, which a Raven Keeper might do.
That's the way I would do it. The way I see madness is I will play as if I'm that character, kind of as if it was a demon bluff in a way.
My question,
But I know that's against the rules. That's not really what's written there.
well, my question to you, so you two are more, have run more games than I've run, because I've run 0 at this point of recording. How would you, like, that's the thing, like, I guess you just said that's how you would interpret it, but Avery...
But that's how I interpret it as a player.
How would you interpret it as, let's say, in that kind of instance, if you had to, what would you, is it dependent on the group that we're playing with at the moment? Would you rather see them act as a character or actively try to persuade people that you are that character?
I personally have gone kind of through stages where it's like I've thought of one thing, then I've kind of it's as time has kind of progressed, changed how I rule things. At the moment, I tend to be more on the side of, I guess, rules as written.
Okay.
So kind of trying to convince, like, as kind of the rules say, trying to convince the town that something is true. So convince them that you are the role itself.
So
I think...
Even though most of the time that is by sometimes maybe not acting as such, although there are many different ways to play any rule.
I would agree with you in a little bit of a sense. I've only played 2 games of S&V, and when there was someone that was mad, the way that I always kind of interpret it was in the name. So you're mad. You've got madness, right?
Yeah.
So that would mean, like, in day 1, you come flying out with a flower girl, I'm the flower girl, la la la, and then you come out the next day and say, no guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm the artist, right? And it's like, wait a minute. Like, is the theming of it to me makes sense of that. Well, this person doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
Maybe they're mad about. Maybe they keep getting
yeah, that's
made
very
mad.
clever. I never thought about it that way.
And maybe that's the idea of, like, maybe it's. I agree with you. I reckon it could be taken either way. But for me, I've always thought of madness as it's supposed to be that you don't know who they actually are, but you don't know if they were made mad the first day or the second day, and then maybe they get made mad on the 3rd day as well. That says you don't have to go back to the flower girl.
They could be made mad the entire game.
100%, right? And so I think that's really. I agree with you. I think that's a really cool way of looking at it. But that's how I always interpreted it when I read.
Yeah, there's
madness.
definitely some tough decisions to be made.
Yeah. So
from this mechanic.
Yeah.
Just on the mutant, I was storyteller one game, and I think it was like day 3, and the mutant came out and said, "I'm the mutant." I then had the choice: do I kill that player?
Yep.
Right. It doesn't have to be there and then. I can just kill them whenever after that point. But I decided not to, because if I did, it confirmed that they're the mutant, and that just helped the good team narrow down the evil potential players. So the madness and the might die is a great way the storyteller can help manipulate the game to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Especially, I guess, with, I guess, the theme of outsiders being that they are harmful to the good team.
Yeah.
And so kind of having to convince people that you're not an outsider is in a way a detriment to the good team, because they can't narrow down who's telling the truth and who's lying.
In a way, it's like another lie out there, isn't it? It's another bluff.
Yeah. Look, I do want to point out to anyone that if you are looking into S&V at the moment, so one of the first big things we do need to talk about, the main difference upon others, other than madness, is the fact that we make a jump from a single demon to 4 demons, right?
Yes.
So we now have 4 demons.
There's only one demon.
Sorry, there's only one demon player, but there are 4 potential sort of demons that they could be. So I think we kind of mentioned, the Serenova says the minion and an outsider of the mutant, but I think we should go and talk about these demons.
I think-
'Cause I think a lot of the games always start with, all right, we need to figure out what the hell demon we're dealing with so that we
Yeah.
can
And
get
that's
there.
honestly, personally, I think a big thing about the script in general
Mm-hmm.
is there's a lot of information, but also a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
And a lot of the misinformation comes from the minions and the demons.
Yeah, which help you narrow it down.
Even like
yeah.
a lot of the demons actively provide disinformation
Mm-hmm.
and providing false information or
Yeah.
poisoning people.
Well, let's
which is-
talk about one. What's one of your
I
favorite?
think the first
yeah.
one to start, just coming from Trouble Brewing, will be the No Dashi, because it's kind of the most simple of all of them, I think. So the No Dashi reads, each night, just not the first night, choose a player, they die. So that's fairly much similar to the Imp. However, it says your 2 townsfolk neighbors are poisoned. So it's only your townsfolk neighbors that will be poisoned for the entire game. So if the No Dashi was sitting next to an outsider or another minion, it will actually skip that player and it will just bounce to the next possible townsfolk, but there's always going to be 2 townsfolk that are poisoned.
And one thing that I think people, like just personally, I see people get confused about, it doesn't move upon death.
No, it doesn't.
So it is
Yeah.
literally just whoever's kind of next to the demon will always be poisoned unless the demon moves.
So
Right,
if there's any mechanics that get information and during the game you confirm other information and you realize night 1 or night 2 these 2 people were potentially poisoned, if you do know it's a No Dashi for other mechanics, you kind of just narrow down who that person is based off the position of the circle, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think the Nadashi is one of those interesting ones though, because it says each night, obviously not the first night, because on the first night
Well, there are some demons that do action first night, just not on this
Well,
script.
in this one, because basically they don't want you to kill someone on the first night and immediately lock down that circle, because if people figure out, oh, someone died on the first night, then we can do that. But yeah, it's a really interesting take on it as well, because when we get to the other roles, you can start throwing out poisons onto some people to try and make it look like it's that, and then that's some of the things that...
One thing I think this leads kind of well into is the Vortex.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Which is same as the No Dashi each night except for the first, choose a player and they die. Townsfolk abilities yield false info, and each day if nobody is executed, the evil team wins.
That is scary.
It is. No. There's a lot
I
of...
forgot about that rule.
Yeah.
I forgot about that last sentence.
There is a lot of... sometimes if you're not really sure about someone to execute, it's just let's execute a dead body to make sure someone is
That happened to me the
executed.
other night. People killed me and I was dead like 3 times over, just in case.
But like the reason I bring it up is because the No Dashi is very specifically the townsfolk neighbors are poisoned.
Yes.
Whilst the Vortex, kind of everyone receives false information. And so if only specific people are getting false info, then maybe it's a Vortex game, but the evil team are saying that they've got true information. Or maybe it's a No Dashi game. And it provides, like, the differences between the demons provide a way for the evil team to kind of maybe mislead town into what
Because
demons are
especially
in play.
if you've got 2 minions that don't get any information, let's say, they could just lie about the townsfolk they are and say, no, I got truthful information, just to cover for that demon.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Character.
I'd like to take one half step back, if I may, because you literally said, you two both said, we executed a dead body. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah,
Is
visually
that
it's
something
me.
you could actually do? You can you can vote to execute someone who's
So-
already been dead.
So there's
A different script, yeah.
so Trouble Brewing, you don't really have any reason to in Trouble Brewing.
Right.
Not S&V you do just 'cause
Only really the Vortex. We'll be talking about Bad Moon Rising at some point.
feel free to voice the character though, that's fine.
The Zombul
Yes.
is a character on BMR.
It's another demon.
Yeah, it's another demon. Where the first time they die, they live but register as dead.
Right. Okay.
And so if the Zombul is in the game, you kind of have to execute dead bodies
to find out.
to kill the demon, really.
But the problem
Okay,
is,
yeah.
we'll dive into that one. That's
we'll get-
really
yeah,
Okay,
interesting
well that makes a lot of
one.
sense then,
Yeah.
because
So-
that makes a lot of sense, because it was just, for anyone listening, they would have heard what I heard, which was, we executed a dead body, and I'm like, it's kind of a bit redundant.
I do want to say, Can I just bounce to a clockmaker just
Yeah,
to
please
talk
do.
about my
Yep.
experience? So the other night I was a clockmaker, which is the very first character on this script. It's a townsfolk, and it says you start knowing how many steps from the demon to the nearest minion. So if the if the demon is sitting somewhere in the circle and the minion is two spots away, I'll get a number 2. Which is great at trying to really it really helped the game along.
Sorry,
But-
I'm just laughing because I was the storyteller in that game, and I know exactly.
Yeah,
the
look, it was
story
it was a great
I
game.
know exactly what you're gonna say here.
But the thing is, right, everyone was like, what if it's a Vortox? We need to execute someone today. And no one wanted to die. So I was like, I'm the clockmaker, just kill me. And then day 2, I'm the clockmaker, just kill me again. Day 3, just kill me. It happened 3 times. It doesn't feel good.
I can imagine though that it does provide that bit of a timer, which is that, well, if you do have a Vortox and they are offing people, if you are forced to keep killing someone who's already dead,
Yeah.
you're giving the demons and the minions a chance to catch up that numbers advantage
So
and
there's
do that as well.
like from I guess my perspective, I find that usually it doesn't happen all of the time. It's only if town really thinks there's no one else better to execute, or they've tried to execute people and nothing is going through.
So I think one of the main differences from Trouble Brewing, you could, more often than not, you can just tell people who you are. With Sects and Violets, a lot of characters might not want to reveal who they are.
Yes.
So there's a different form of tension, especially with Batman Rising as well, but SMV, there's a different form of tension, especially those first couple of days, because you don't know who to trust. You don't want to tell people anything about you.
Yeah.
Practically everyone's lying to you first day.
Because there are a lot of really good information roles on the scripts.
Definitely.
As well as roles that are incentivized to lie, because, for example, I guess I'm talking about another character.
Jump into one.
Please do.
The Sage.
So that's a townsfolk.
It's a townsfolk which reads, if the demon kills you, learn that it is one of 2 players.
Ooh.
And so the Sage kind of has an incentive to say, I'm a character with really important, with really good information that's getting it every day in order for them to get the demon to kill them at night.
Yeah, they're bluffing as that really powerful person, because a 50-50 chance of that player is the demon, assuming you're not poisoned, is really powerful.
But you also don't want to
Yeah, it
necessarily...
can't, and if it's not a Vortex.
Well, and that's the other thing, which is that you also don't want to necessarily give away that you are the Sage, because if you are told that you're now mad, you may know who the demon's one of 2 people, but now you have to keep playing as if you're trying to be another player. So I guess there's all these different other things.
Even then, if you come out as being the Sage before you die, then the evil team has no incentive to kill you.
That is true.
Yeah, which happens a lot. I've seen new players just be a Raven Keeper and just say, I'm a Raven Keeper. Oh, I'm useless. No one's killed me. I'm like, you told everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, look, let's go through another demon whilst we're at it. Let's go through...
I really want to go through the Vigor Mortis, I think.
Yeah, so
is that how you pronounce it?
Vigor Mortis.
Vigor Mortis.
It's like, like rigor mortis, like your stiff body.
Yeah, but you got some vigor in you.
Yeah, you got some vigor in you. So this one reads out each night, except not the first night. Choose a player, they die. Standard sort of start. However, the minions, you will keep their ability.
Minions you kill.
Sorry, minions you kill will keep their ability and poison 1 townsfolk neighbor. So if you play with this particular demon, there will be 1 less outsider that is in play.
Yeah. Which if there's 0 base, that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, no. But if you're playing with, say, sometimes you like to figure out, okay, how many. I mean, it doesn't really matter in this script. That would matter in a different script, like in TB, if you had a Baron, for example, and we have extra outsiders. But
that's just all based on player count as well.
And there's also, I guess, talking about the last demon on the script.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Fengu's fun. I love
which
Fengu.
each night, except not for the first night, choose a player, they die. The first outsider this kills becomes an evil Fangu, and you die instead. Plus 1 outsider.
Which, this happened to you.
Yeah, it did.
It did. I remember that.
Now that you're talking about that game, I do remember that. I was like, oh crap, I just got made a fake goo. Oh no.
And so, kind of, one element that this adds is there is, similar to the Baron, there is uncertainty about the amount of outsiders that are in the game. Both the Vigor Mortis and the Fangu kind of can change that number. But also, with the Fangu being on the script, outsiders, I mean, the mutant wouldn't kind of claim they're an outsider.
Yeah.
But if you can figure out that there are more outsiders than there should be, then you kind of want to shut up about being an outsider.
Yeah.
Because then if the evil team finds that out, they can try and kill you and make you the evil Fangu.
Yeah. So that means you become part of the evil team now, and you are trying. Then you're like, oh crap! And
I do love how if you're the Fangu and you pick the other outsider, you just wake up and go, you died, and then you have to piece together what happened a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part,
you'll know.
You'll know.
Yeah.
Oh no, like it happened to me, and I remember I was playing one.
You were a damsel. It was a custom script.
I was the damsel, and I got killed, and I woke up as the Fangu, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good, because I knew my.
And figured you out.
You guys are smart enough to figure it all out, and
I do want to say,
the whole group sort of thing was like, I think we figured it out. It's like,
I want to bounce to an outsider on this script. Now, this outsider, when I first read it or found it, it was one of my favorite oh shit moments, and I hope I'm never in this situation. So that is the Klutz. And it says, when you learn that you died, publicly choose one player. If they are evil, your team loses.
Very specifically, one alive player.
One alive player. That's very true, because, their alignment's in a way not confirmed.
But also it's like, there are ways that players can kind of be confirmed good but dead.
And you can talk with your group about it, but you still have to pick that one person.
And it's specifically just when you learn that you died.
Yes.
So you have to kind of make that decision very quickly.
Yeah, it's got to be a snap, pretty much, hey?
I actually played a game recently where we executed the Klutz day one because...
Oh, wow.
Because it was a base 0 outsider game, which just means that for the amount of players... there are not meant to be any outsiders in play.
Yeah.
And the only kind of manipulation of outside accounts was the Fangu.
Yes.
And so this person was like, I don't want to become the demon. I'm going to get myself executed. And I was chosen by the... by the Klutz. However, it was... I will go into something that's very confusing, and I will only kind of vaguely mention it.
This is the perfect podcast to go into confusing right now. We're talking...
I'll just clarify something.
It's a game... it's a version of the game called Trouble and also Violets.
I love this one, yeah.
We were playing 2 games simultaneously. One Trouble Brewing and one Sects and Violets. And you had a character in each.
Wow.
Right.
And the thing is, you don't know whether the game is over until both games are over.
Wow.
So... there was the possibility that the Sects and Violets game was over with the Klutz picking me.
Right.
But nobody knew.
Oh, no.
Because we had to wait until...
I think we've dived too deep.
So you're playing... Let me just clarify.
Too much.
Let me just clarify. You are playing 2 games at the exact same time.
Yes, that is correct.
That would break my brain, because so what happens? So if you die as character
you have 2
A,
roles. So you're given 2 roles.
If you're executed, if town executes which character's executed?
There's only 1 death per day.
Yeah.
Right.
And what happened was in the night, demons in both games would give their choices to the storytellers, and the storyteller would make a choice on which of these people would die.
So this is obviously an online variant.
This
is the game.
But let me make sure though, right? So if you died, you take 2 roles died in one.
No, the storyteller will pick.
Oh, okay.
So there will only be 1 death per night, but you die in both games.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I mean.
Both
It's like if they choose to kill you, that means both of your roles.
We've dived too deep, man.
As I said, it was probably too much, but it's my most recent experience with the Klutz.
Did you lose immediately in that game? Or
no, I was good.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
I was the artist, actually.
Fantastic.
So I think we've covered all the demons now. So we have the Fangu, which is the outsider bouncing demon. We have the Vigor Mortis, which is the one that could potentially kill their minions, and the minions keep their abilities. We've got the No Dashi, which poisons 2 townsfolk neighbors, and we've got the Vortox, which every townsfolk gets false information.
I think I just wanted to mention something about the Vigor
Yeah,
Mortis.
yeah.
Please do.
Because we didn't actually talk about it too much.
No, we didn't.
We described it and then went straight to the Fengu.
We did.
But
See if you can pick which one is one of our favorite demons.
The Vigor
in
Mortis is
Script.
pretty sick. It's pretty sick too.
it's interesting. It's actually not that well liked, from what I know. Because people tend to find that it's not as powerful as, I guess, some of the other demons, both on the script and in general, in Blood on the Clock Tower.
I think it depends on what minion you kill, like what character.
But part of, I guess, people thinking that it's weak is that you're killing a minion and therefore kind of, in a way, crippling the evil team
by removing
with
that
votes.
voting power.
However, it basically makes the minion keep their ability, and then
the poison
there
as
is-
well.
the poison, but also there is no way for the minion to then stop having their ability because they're dead.
Yes.
And so I think that's pretty powerful myself.
They always just keep getting
Look, I
their
think,
ability even though they're dead.
If you keep a
So theoretically, you could kill a minion on night 1,
yes,
and then now they just have their power.
and
for
they
the rest
can
of the
they can claim that they were truthful and trustworthy the whole time too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for example, we touched on the Serenovas, which is one of the minions, which is one of my favorites on this script actually. And it says each night choose a player and a good character. They are then made mad that they are this character tomorrow, or they might be executed. So if you were to kill the Serenovas and they keep their ability the entire game, that's really powerful in my books.
Yeah. So as well. So remember that what in the wording of that just basically means I choose Ralph, and Ralph has to claim that he is, or has to keep.
You just pick a good
he has
character.
to keep one of the townsfolk, right? So it's like Ralph needs to claim he is the town crier tomorrow. That's what he has to do, or he might be executed. So
You can make me the klutz if you want.
And the mutant.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
very...
sorry, yes, you're right. Sorry, good character,
Yeah,
not
good
a
character,
townsfolk.
it's,
Sorry,
very,
yes.
it's very specifically good character.
It is.
It would be a completely different game if the Serenovas could make people mad that they're the demon. Be like, I'm the Vortox.
So-
having to convince people that they're the Vortox.
Would,
Yes.
would making them be like, so making the Serenovas or making someone
Mad.
making someone claim that they are the mutant though would give away there's probably a Serenovas, because the mutant doesn't want to claim they're the
potentially,
mutant.
'cause I wouldn't
the mutant wants to
die.
claim that they are has to claim that they are someone else.
but-
Is
Yeah,
that-
but
Yeah.
also is like, I think.
oh guys,
with
I am
both
the mutant. So
with
I
But you
have-
can't do that because you wouldn't be. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, but with both the mutant and the Serenovas, there is very specifically the might be
Yes, okay.
executed. And Stephen Medway said himself, it provides kind of a bit of leeway around it, because if it
Yeah.
says they will be executed, then that kind of confirms that a role is in play. And one of the things I love about Blood on the Clock Tower in general is that there is information, but it is almost never 100% solid information.
No,
Yeah.
there's
There
always
is
that
always some ambiguity to it, and even if it is, like, even if there is a little, like, there's not much ambiguity in the information itself,
Yep.
there is ambiguity in, is this information true?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Especially on this script.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think these. You're right. As you said at the beginning of this podcast, the best thing about S&V is the disinformation that a lot of these roles provide. That you can basically say, right, Ralph, you have to claim that you are this character, and then it just starts. If you can do all these things well enough, you can really start throwing a lot of wrenches in the gears, as it were, and just making people go, wait. And we do the Spider-Man meme of like,
Yeah.
me.
There's a lot of double claiming potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
as well.
Well, speaking of double claiming, one of the roles I just want to point out very quickly. This is a townsfolk role, and one that I personally love. It's the juggler, which says basically on your first day you have to publicly guess 5 player characters, and that night you learn how many you got correct.
I like to juggle.
So, the story that I've told about this before is that in my very first game of S&V, on the very first night, on the very first day, someone claimed that they were the juggler, and then I was like, cool, this is really cool, and then someone else did, and then someone else did, and then the whole circle, we had 11 players, all claimed that they were the juggler. And I'm sitting there going, well, I'm like 10th in line. I went, well, stuff it, I'm the juggler as well, I have a guess.
You know what's really cool?
I mean, obviously they knew I wasn't, but I was like, okay, this is apparently what's going on.
If you're the juggler in a Vortex game, no matter what you say, if it's false, you're going to get false information.
Yeah.
Would you give them a 5, saying they got all 5 things correct, or would you plant that seed of doubt a little bit, saying you got 3 out of the 5
That's the
correct?
storyteller's choice.
Yeah.
Depending on what the kind of game we're running.
Guess on the player, yeah.
One thing about the juggler is that I guess I'm here talking about different interpretations. Some people run juggler as you choose 5 different players and characters. So saying I juggle that Ralph is the Sarah Novus, the Pit Hag, the Nodashi, the Vortox, or the Sage, for example. But some people, some storytellers run it that you can technically go, I juggle myself as the juggler 5 times. And
just to test the Nodash, the
yeah,
Vortex
I mean,
information.
one of my favorite things is just to juggle myself as the juggler, and that is it. Because
As a joke?
in a
Or-
Vortex
okay.
game,
Well,
I get
yeah.
something that isn't one.
It's like
Well, there's nothing in the wording of the juggler that says you couldn't do that because it just says
It says
publicly
up to
guess
5.
up to 5 players characters.
Yeah.
You are a player, so you can guess yourself.
imagine
You know what?
you're the juggler with like one thing that you're juggling.
Yeah, no, but I guess what I guess I was mentioning about the juggler is that some people rule it that juggling yourself 5 times as the juggler can get you a 5, which I find a little confusing.
Well, it does
Like,
say guess up to 5, so you could just say I'm the juggler and I'm guessing myself as the juggler. Like you
Yeah,
can
no.
literally just do it once. You don't have to do it 5
I
times.
guess the
Yeah,
specific
that's
thing
true.
is making 5 guesses, but them all being the same guess.
Well, that
the
is.
same person as
But
the
then
same
that
character.
would be the number 5 because you made 5 accurate guesses.
See, I personally rule it as it's making 1 guess 5 times. And
but
so
then
you're
the
only gonna
number
get-
will still be 5.
You're only really
yeah.
guessing one thing.
Sorry,
And
I've got
see,
I've got
you know what?
programmer
Yeah.
brain, mate. So
What we're literally seeing here is 2 different styles of storyteller play out live in front of you right here.
I've got
No,
like
I
the
agree.
programming
That's
logic.
That's kind of what I was mentioning there.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
some people rule it as that would count as a
100%.
5. I personally rule it that it counted as a 1.
Well, you're realistically, I would agree with you there. It's like you could make the same guess 5 times. Why not just make it once and just make it easier and everyone go? If you're gonna guess
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
5 times, you might as well just guess it once and just go.
So there's a, I think, going back to the interview that you had with Stephen Medway.
Yes, please.
Um,
Check it out on our YouTube channel.
I think he mentioned there that some people would juggle one person as like three times and then something else 2 times and kind
Yeah.
of the number that they'd get would help confirm what's in play. For
Yeah,
example,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like if they get a 5, then both of them are true. If they get a 3, then maybe only one is true. If they get a 2, only one is true. If they get a 4, then they know it's a Vortex or they're poisoned.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. And so I guess the way that I interpret it being, if you're making the same guess multiple times, it only counts as 1 guess, kind of removes the possibility of kind of metaing the results,
Yeah. Yeah.
if that makes sense.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of strategy with that character.
There
I didn't
is,
realize
yes.
that because I've never been the juggler myself.
Now thinking about how you said that realistically, I'm like, yep, that all of those are still fine as well. Because look, and I'm sorry for bringing up this wormhole by saying I wanted to talk about the juggler, but no, you are 100% correct. Because I only have seen it played one way, but you're right that you could play it as, you know what, I'm going to guess myself, or I'm going to use it just to confirm what Ralph is, or
But the
what
thing is,
Avery
like, you could also, because you got the first day to talk to people, and you want to
true.
try and speed talk to people to try and
Yeah.
get an educated guess on your juggles. But if someone's already confirmed a player using their abilities in a way, you could double confirm that too.
Or you can confirm that their information is correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think kind of leads into, or at least I would like it to lead it into the Dreamer.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
So what's the dream as a townsfolk?
It's a townsfolk. Each night, choose a player, not yourself or travelers.
Yep.
You learn 1 good and 1 evil character, one of which is correct.
I love that.
So you learn what their role is, and then also a role of the opposite alignment to them,
Yeah.
which can, like, it can be incredibly confirming information, but, like, it really depends because, especially if you're choosing evil players later on in the game, you can kind of basically get what someone's buffing and their evil role. And
That's what I was going to say.
you
Yeah.
you don't really know, you can't really know for certain what's true or not, or like if they're actually the good role or if they're an evil role bluffing the good role, and then there's Vortox, whereas like you're just getting completely wrong information all of the time anyway.
Also, there's one outsider called the Sweetheart, and it says when you die, one player is drunk from now on for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I love making the Dreamer drunk. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, that would be fun. Like I can imagine, it's like it's like guys, that'd be information that you're trying to hold on to. I mean, whether or not like there'd be some interesting bluffs that could be out there as well.
Definitely.
Very much because like even with the
Dreamer's really
Sweetheart,
strong.
like whether or not you go loud with the
It also-
Sweetheart.
You would.
In a way, it also helps confirm, like, maybe if a juggler speaks to a dreamer, then the juggler can maybe juggle the person as
Yeah.
a role that they one of the roles that they received to help confirm that info, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
there's a lot of kind of those interactions as well.
Yeah, I do. I want to have a quick chat though. If I can jump to one of the minions, which I know, I really like the witch because I love the witch.
So what is the witch?
So the witch is a minion, and it says each night they choose a player, and if they nominate, so if that player nominates tomorrow, they die. So if there are 3 players left alive, you lose this ability. So you can't use it in the very end of the game. But I love this idea as well because this is one of those characters which makes everyone just pause for a second. Like, what if there is a witch in this game and I nominate and I die? Although it does lead into these very funny situations where something's going to happen where someone just goes, you know what, Stephen, I'm going to nominate Ralph. And the storyteller just goes, and you die. You're immediately dead. Everyone go to sleep. Right?
Well, okay.
Well, no, sorry. But
Yeah.
but they,
So, the witch very specifically is just death.
sorry, I don't.
Yeah, so the game continues. Like
Yeah,
the day
I
continues.
know,
Yes.
I know.
The day does continue.
And the nomination goes through.
That is
yeah,
true.
and I guess we've talked about execution from like abilities rather than I guess nominations.
Yes.
That ends the day immediately.
Execution ends the day. Yeah.
Whilst the death, they die, but like
Game on.
yeah, the game continues.
But everyone's just there stunned, like for a second, going, "Wait, what?"
Last night actually, I played a game where I was the witch, and I very first night chose myself. Then I nominated one of my neighbors because I was bluffing empath, and it wasn't an S&V game.
Oh, okay. I was
I was gonna say,
That's a custom.
It was a
script.
custom
Yeah.
script.
I should say that.
Empath is not on this script. But it, at least at that point in time, people thought I was good because why would an evil person be cursed by the witch?
Yeah, that's an interesting
at the very
play.
beginning of the game, because it removes, I guess, the ability if you are the witch cursing yourself, for example, it removes your ability for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Which can be incredibly visible. People dying during the day just doesn't happen unless it's a witch.
Unless there's
do
a
wanna,
vigor mortis in there as well, which this
That's
potentially
also
could happen.
true,
Because
but-
in this particular script, if you have a vigor mortis, you could, as you go, if I figure that out pretty quickly, I could go, fantastic, I could play the witch play, kill myself immediately on opening night,
Well,
and I mean...
so specifically the vigor mortises, minions you kill.
Yeah.
So they have to die via the demon in order to keep their ability.
Right, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, this is why I like having two storytellers.
I've only,
because they pull me up on all the technicalities very
I'm just
quickly.
like, well, actually.
So I've only been
No,
the
this is
witch.
great, I love
I've been the witch once before, and I do want to talk about one townsfolk here called the Town Crier, and it says each night you learn if a minion nominated today. Right, I was bluffing as the Town Crier, but I was the witch, and I just asked another player, "Hey, can you nominate today? That way I can get some Town Crier information on you, and I can trust you."
Yeah.
But I cursed them.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was
Did they think
fun.
you were the witch?
After that, yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit, but it was worth it.
Specifically asking someone to nominate.
I wasn't a good witch. I wasn't a good
It
witch.
really does make people think that you're the witch.
But it was
When
fun,
they die.
especially because of my cackle afterward.
I can imagine. That would be... I could just imagine you sitting there giggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, well, he's the witch. Move on.
Sugar. It was very public too.
That would be good. Well, there's two more minions that we need to go through as well. So one of them is the Pit Hag, which says each night, not including the first night, choose a player and a character they become if not in play. If a demon is made, deaths tonight are arbitrary. Now, I thought this was a really interesting one the first time that I read it. But Avery, I'd like to get your spin on how you interpret this one going, like as a, as from a storytelling perspective, but also from have you played the Pit Hag or played against one, etc. Like this is one of those ones that I haven't actually played against, but I've always thought would be a really interesting sort of.
Yeah.
The
So the Pit Hag I think is actually can be really powerful, especially in on this script because one kind of what's the word? One play that I see quite often is the Pit Hag turning people into outsiders.
Yeah.
And then the turning the demon into the Fangu, and then meaning like so that the demon can then try and jump to these newly created outsiders in town.
Yeah,
Right.
sway the power of evil team.
But it also can provide, like for example, if people think, or like if the evil team thinks someone's a good information role, let's just make someone the klutz, remove their information, or like the clockmaker. If there's like you learn one piece of information but nothing else, and so that's interesting. One thing also very specifically about it, if a demon is made, deaths tonight are arbitrary.
So what does that? What would you? How would you? What does that mean if
So-
a demon is made in this context?
The Pit Hag can create
The
another
Pit Hag
demon player.
can create any player and like can
And
choose
to a
any
role.
player and choose any role. They stay their current alignment, so the Pit Hag can turn people into good demons, for example, or evil,
sorry, but I've
or
gotta
evil
kill you.
Or a
townsfolk.
good witch or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the specific Death Tonight are arbitrary is most like I tend to see it as well. For the most part, there are usually more than one demon in play at that point.
Yeah.
And so it provides the storyteller the opportunity to maybe get rid of one of the demons, so that there's not two demons killing each night.
You could also
um,
kill
so
the whole
arbitrary
town.
just-
Also,
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you now.
arbitrary just means that the storyteller chooses who dies.
I
And
love
so
that.
the storyteller can also choose nobody dying.
Yeah.
Or they can choose to have multiple people dying. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the people that the
The
demon chooses.
killed. Yeah.
It just is arbitrary, really.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what and so that though does mean that the storyteller has to make that choice on that night, which is that am I going to allow this 2-demon game to play out, or am I going to,
Look, it can
knock
be a
one
very
of them off?
interesting game, and if people are down for it and time allows it, I don't see why not.
Yeah, no, there's
But-
nothing specifically saying that
Yeah.
you need to only have one demon in play.
So in terms of how you said that their alignment is still the same. So if I
Yes.
was, let's say, just in your example, I'm a clockmaker, and now the Pit Hag has come along and said, nope, you're now the Nodashi, right?
Yep.
So every night now I have to choose someone to die. Hopefully I'd be choosing minions in that case, or another
Yeah.
demon in that particular instance.
You can pick yourself. Too.
I could pick myself, that's true. But after, like, is that, from that point, the storyteller basically has to make that choice from that point onwards, right? So in my vote, I know that I'm still a good player, even though I'm now a Nodashi, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still a good team.
And-
Yep.
I'm just working with a demon ability.
And the fun thing
Okay.
is that if, for example, you are the good Nodashi and you are the only demon either in play or alive, then the good team still has to execute you in order to win the game. Although you, as the person being executed, do also win the game because the demon is dead. But you are the demon, but you are good.
That'll be a really interesting play because
And-
both townsfolk's neighbours will still be poisoned in that case, right?
Yes, no, that is true.
That's pretty powerful.
It's I don't know if you remember, but it was a couple months ago. In-person game that we played that I story told. It was a really big game of SNV. And there was like a barber swap, and then the Pit Hag was turning people into a good person into the demon, and then like so much happened. 'Cause
Yeah,
there was also
I remember that a few really
there was also
long
a
nights
snake
there.
charm, and which we'll get into.
We're gonna
I
get
think
into
both
all
of those
this,
rows.
This is all really
but, like,
crazy stuff.
It was so much happened to that game.
Yeah.
Including the Pit Hag turning somebody into a good demon, and it was just like this script can cause a lot of chaos as well.
Let's just go through a great example of the chaos, right? So, Snake Charmer,
Yes.
the townsfolk. And this townsfolk to me is the root of the chaos here. It says each night, choose an alive player. A demon swaps characters and alignments with you and is then poisoned. So if I'm the snake charmer and Nee is the demon, and I pick Nee one night, Nee is then woken up to say, Nee, you are the snake charmer. You are good, but you know you're poisoned as well. I get woken up and says, Ralph, you are now the Nodashi. You are evil. But now I don't know who my minions are. But you, the good snake charmer, know who your minions are.
And you know the evil team except for who the snake charmer is really.
Yeah.
Which is really powerful information for the good team, because having a new person on the evil team, on the good team, that knows basically all of the information from the evil team, except for maybe who the demon is.
Yeah. Okay.
However, that also provides the opportunity for the evil team to just bluff.
So
And to say,
yeah.
hi,
And
I
also-
was the demon.
Yeah.
I was chosen by a snake charmer. I'm now the snake charmer. Here are my minions, and pointing to 2 random good players.
And here's some other chaos as well. The pit hag, which can choose another player. So I snake charmed you. Then I'm the new demon. Then your pit hag wakes up, doesn't know I'm the demon in the game, changes my character. Then there is no demon in the game and the game is over.
So what does take through the people very quickly if they don't understand what poisoning is. So when obviously because that's part of the crux of this, which is that it's like, hey,
you lose your snake charm ability.
it's just that's all.
You
it is.
just don't have.
lose
You
the
don't have an ability.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar to drunkenness, poisoning, basically, you don't have any mechanical
Right. Okay.
effect to the
Yeah.
game.
Okay. So you're
And-
now just that character, but you don't have the ability
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the snake charmer.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
It's also I was thinking about something and now I've forgotten it.
I'm
About-
sorry. I'm sorry.
I just,
I'm-
you said it was a really good demon bluff, like
Yeah.
yeah.
There was something else I was thinking
you're right.
of.
It's all right.
Ooh, my brain.
No,
So that-
sorry,
so that's like-
we'll move on.
So the
We'll keep
combination
going,
of
and then
the
you
snake
can interrupt us
charmer,
when it
the
comes
snake
back.
charmer with the pit hag is just a recipe for chaos. One of the other outsiders, which Avery mentioned, was the barber, and it says if you died today or tonight, the demon may choose 2 players to swap characters. They could even swap for another barber.
Like they can swap the dead barber with an alive townsfolk, for example, and now have an alive barber.
And then
Yeah.
just keep
Dead
killing
townsfolk.
that barber over and over and over if they wanted to.
Oh yes,
Here it is. It's back.
I have remembered about the snake charmer.
Yep.
Because there is a popular rule, kind of, at least from what I know online, called the Alejo rule.
Okay.
Named after
Alejo.
which they're pretty well known online, which basically moves the snake charmer's ability to before the minion demon info on the first night.
Oh, that's clever.
Which means that, for example, if you snake charm the demon on the first night, then you actually learn learn the rest of the team, and the
Oh.
original demon doesn't learn that, which means that you're not kind of lost going immediately into the game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I personally don't rule it that way myself.
I just follow the
It's
rule.
a kind of a homebrew rule.
Yeah. No, but that one makes sense to me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like there are reasons that people would do it, and it does make sense. Just as written, the snake charmer just kind of goes after demon info, and so
Yeah.
there is the opportunity for the demon to learn their evil team, then the snake charmer to choose them, meaning that basically the evil team have nothing. Like
Yeah,
get
right out of the
crippled
gates,
very
it's really
quickly.
tough.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
I really like about the snake charmer as well is you could spend the first 3 nights actually legitimately trying to become the demon, and then say you don't hit the demon, all right, and you're just the sober, healthy snake charmer. You might want to stop picking players that you haven't picked because you don't want to change to the demon at this point because you think the good team is winning, and you already know for sure
That those players
that
aren't
those
the demon.
players
Yeah.
aren't the demon. So
Yeah.
in a way, you've become a bit of a fortune teller
Yeah.
for the team.
Yeah.
But if you're the snake charmer, you probably don't want to tell town, hey, I'm the snake charmer, just in case you become the demon.
Yeah. I can imagine
Yeah.
that.
Anyway, going I guess back to the barber, it is one of the only ways for people to change characters in the night. Which I remember in it.
Well, the pit hag changes as well.
Yeah, it's one of the only ways.
Oh, yeah.
I remember think it was the game that we played.
Yeah, we played at one game at B3 GD as well, where I was the barber, I think.
Yeah, but it was like, I think your character changed or something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, either it's a pit hag game or the barber has died, basically.
Yeah, which was really confusing to me because the player I thought was the barber was still alive. So I was like, it can't be a barber swap. So, yeah, that really confused me when I woke up.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, and that's why, again, that disinformation and misinformation we've been talking about all the way through is just...
But also, I guess the barber... Sorry, I'll just
No,
quickly
there's
say
so
this.
much to this script,
The
honestly.
barber can swap characters within the evil team.
Yes.
And also, they can choose not to. So,
yeah, it does say that.
yeah. So, if
May.
you died today or tonight, the demon may choose 2 players, not another demon, to swap characters. Because there's the opportunity for there to be multiple demons with the pit hag. That's why it specifies so that you're not kind of making everyone on the evil team demons. But it means that, like, for example, if you think that the demon's in a bit of a rough spot, but one of the minions is looking really good and that town's not going to execute them, swapping those characters means that, well, if they execute the person that people think are suspicious, well, they're only executing a minion now.
Yeah, that happened to me where I was a minion and my demon was being really sus. He killed the barber and then I became the demon and we won the game.
Yeah.
Which was a great play. Like, I had nothing to do with it. I just sat in my chair. Speaking of misinformation, and I would love to talk to you about this one, Avery, the Savant. And that's a townsfolk. And it says, each day you may visit the storyteller and learn 2 things in private. One is true and one is false. Not in that order. So I'm going to put this in. I've never put the Savant in my games because I think I will crumble under the pressure of giving out Savant information.
Honestly, it's understandable. I don't tend to that often just because I know that it takes me a little while to, I guess, think up the information.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I will kind of towards the end of the night just be typing on my phone, being like, here's the information I'm going to give the Savant.
That's a clever thing.
I think it also is interesting because the Savant's ability as is you learn 2 things, one of which is true and one which is false. However, if the Savant is poisoned, then those 2 pieces of information could both be true or could both be false. And if it's a Vortox game, then both of them have to be false.
Yeah.
And so it provides kind of a bit where it's like, okay, so which one of these pieces of information is true and which one is false? And a lot of the time I see the storyteller starts the game with a bit like vague statements like the outside account has been manipulated. Or like a sober chef would receive a 1.
Could you be like, outside account has been manipulated, outside account has not been manipulated?
Technically, yes, but like,
it's not fun to figure that out.
As a storyteller, I prefer to give 2 kind of differing statements. That way there is a bit of ambiguity on which one is
You could be like the snake charmer picked one of your neighbors tonight or something.
Yeah, I mean, you could do...
one. And there could not be a snake charmer in the game.
Whatever you
altogether.
want.
You could do an evil player selected another evil player last night.
Okay.
And something like, so there's a lot of
because the
different ways that you
pick
can
could
bring...
change the type of minions they are in the game.
There's a lot of different ways that you can provide
maybe I
the
should
Savant
start
information.
running that. I think.
No, my mind just went a totally random... I'm sorry to snowball, just to come crashing in my mind. I was giggling there because my mind went, well, it just says... learn 2 things in private, one that's true and one that's false.
The pit hat picked their nose.
No, my mind went, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of Florida, and the largest mountain in the world is Mount Kosciuszko. Like,
I mean, to be fair,
they're both true.
No, sorry, I know that's stupid. I was just like,
that's fair.
To be fair, those are technically...
It doesn't say about the game.
information.
It doesn't say
Just to use that information, so the character called the Artist, which is another townsfolk, and it's once per game. It says, during the day, privately ask the storyteller any yes-no question. A lot of players use this to find out if there's a Vortox in the game. So they may say something like, will the sun rise tomorrow? Just to get that confirmation about the game.
One I hear a lot is... does 2 + 2 = 4?
Yes, that's another common one.
Or am I the artist?
Actually, I saw 1 + 1 = 3 if you don't use a condom. Anyways.
Funny, that's good.
One thing I just would we've mentioned a couple of the roles on this script, a couple of kind of in the category that I'm thinking about, which is binary information. So the artist has binary information. It's either a yes or a no.
Yep.
The town crier has either a yes or a no. Another role, the flower girl. Each night you learn if a demon voted today. That's binary, yes or no.
Yeah, it's really
Seamstress is
powerful.
like that
Seamstress
as
is
well.
like that as well.
Which is one, so Seamstress says, once per game at night you may choose 2 players, not yourself, and learn if they are of the same alignment. So if you know that 2 players seem to be getting a bit sus, or maybe you just want to confirm, so if I point to, I could point to Avery and Ralph, and then he could say no. So I know that one of you definitely is in red, one of you is definitely in blue, and then we can go from that. Or,
It's also all about the timing of that pick. So say
Yeah.
you do that pick on night 3, and I was just the outsider that was Fengu jumped to. Like it's all, you got to remember
Yeah.
the timing of things too.
yeah.
And I think the kind of depth of binary information in the script does really help figure out what demons in play. Which is
Yeah,
one
it's
of the,
very clever.
One of the big kind of like. I've mentioned this many times, but S&V is my favorite script.
Yep.
So is that why it's your favorite, because of the binary
It's
information?
the puzzle of it all.
Yeah.
It's kind of everyone has a lot of information, but you're trying to solve whether it's correct, and if it's wrong, how is it wrong?
Well, and this is also comes down to, sorry, I just want to, because the seamstress we just talked about, and this binary information comes to the final minion that we haven't also talked. This is one of the most obvious ones, but the evil twin is the final minion of the 4. So the witch, the Serenovus, the pit hag, and now the evil twin. So the evil twin as a minion says you and an opposing player know each other. If the good player is executed, then the evil wins. But if the good can't win, if you both live.
Yeah.
And so this is where, as a very basic example, the seamstress could go, all right, well then let's find out. Are you 2 of the same alignment? And
Well, of course they're going to get a no.
well, I know,
Unless it's a Vortox game.
unless it's a Vortex game.
okay.
But this is where I'm just like, you could obviously get a no, but it could also be because the seamstress is only allowed to do that once per game. That could be a bluff by an evil player, so it could say,
But also, like,
I don't know.
there are games where I've seen where 2 people on the evil team both claim to be, like, in
Yep.
an
Oh,
evil
the
twin
evil
pair.
twin pair. Wow, that's pretty.
One
clever.
thing I find, or actually a couple of things I find interesting about the evil twin is specifically the line, if the good player is executed, evil wins. With the pit hag could turn a good player into the good evil twin, which means that the good evil twin learns the role of an evil player, but if the good team execute the good evil twin, the evil team wins the game.
Wow, so that's just done my head in.
Yeah, and also, I guess the last sentence there, good can't win if you both live. If both twins are alive, and for example, the good team executes the demon, the game keeps going, because with the thing, good can't win. The good team cannot win, even with the demon dying. So the only way that the good team can win is if they execute the evil twin, or somehow the evil twin dies.
I do love the idea, like it's such the the movie example, but towards the end of the game, if the evil twin and is still alive, it's like, he's my evil twin. No, he's my evil twin. You gotta shoot. You gotta pick one. Who are you gonna pick?
Definitely gets down to a kind of like, which of the twins are evil?
I do love like the first night happens, everyone's silent and quiet for 5 minutes or so, and everyone wakes up at the same time when the game's all set up and ready to start playing. 2 players just go, I have something I want to say. It's like, they're my evil twin. I'm like, I love that moment.
Yeah, no, it's
I remember I played in one of those games, and it was like, they both just went, right, he's my evil twin.
It's kind of like,
Did not miss a beat, and I was like, And then the other one was like, no, he's my evil twin. I was like, oh.
You get
Oh,
really
okay.
excited when someone comes out like that. It's like, oh, what's happening here? Who's your partner? Like, it's really cool. I
Yeah,
really
there's
like
a whole
that.
bunch of stuff. So we don't have too many roles to go. We've got a few left. So we've gone through all of the demons, the minions, and the outsiders. So we have a few more townsfolk left to go. Why don't you, Avery? Why don't you pick one that we haven't gone through, and let's end this one up and see how we're going.
Yeah, I think on a kind of the note of the puzzle of the game, the mathematician, which reads, each night you learn how many players' abilities worked abnormally since dawn due to another character's ability. That's a lot to take in, and a lot of, I guess, the specific wording there doesn't matter too much for SNV, but can matter in on other scripts with other characters, which may have things happening because of their own ability, which doesn't trigger towards the mathematician, because the mathematician
Is for
is
another
from
character's
another
ability.
player's ability.
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious example of that then would be, obviously, if there's a Vortex in this game, you could count the amount of players that apparently...
But you will be getting false info yourself.
Well,
But you have to get false information.
Well, that's true. That is
Yeah.
true. Yeah, okay. No, sorry, that is right. Okay.
But,
No, you're
like-
right. No.
Yeah.
Sorry, my again, this game keeps blowing my mind with all the
Yeah,
interactions. I'm like,
and
oh, wait, that's right.
specifically-
and the more you play, you notice more.
So
Yeah.
I'll give an example. The Nodashi has 2 townsfolk neighbors, but say only one of them receives information, and maybe say one is the dreamer and one is the snake charmer.
Yep.
The mathematician only kind of increases the number when they get wrong information. So, for example, if the dreamer receives true information, it doesn't increase the mathematician number because the ability acted normally.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the snake charmer, if the snake charmer chooses a person who isn't the demon, the mathematician number doesn't increase. Only if they choose the demon, but the characters don't swap because they're
it's
poisoned.
Okay.
That's like
Right.
So it's
there
a way
are
to
very
like...
there are very specific.
What I really like
things
about the
that-
mathematician,
Is looking
the
for.
longer the game goes on, the more powerful that townsfolk is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because it also can help pinpoint where misinformation can be coming from if
Yeah. Like narrowing down where in the circle the demon is.
I keep mentioning games, but I'll mention another one. It was an in-person game I played. There was a mathematician who received a 1 and then zeros. And we figured out that it was the dreamer who was sitting kind of with a minion and a outsider between them and the demon, who got false information the first night, but true information for the rest of the game.
Right. Yep. Okay.
And so, and that was kind of, it was the Nodashi.
Yeah.
That was doing the poisoning.
Because he's too... No, because he's... Yeah.
Yeah. And so we figured out through like what people were claiming, but also, I guess social reads of people, but also the dreamers' information, that they must have gotten false information the first night, but not for the rest of the game. And even though they're poisoned, it doesn't register to the mathematician unless they receive that false information.
Well, and that's exactly right, because if he's poisoned, he won't be receiving information.
So you do receive information if you're poisoned, but it's storyteller's choice on whether that's true or not.
Right,
But
okay.
if it is true information, it doesn't register to the mathematician because the player's ability worked correctly.
Right, okay.
It is worded in a very specific way.
To allow...
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And it's one thing I actually enjoy about the mathematician because, like, it is a little nitpicky, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah. You said it's a puzzle. And
Yeah.
this is the puzzle.
This is like Trouble Brewing on steroids, in a way. In good steroids.
Well, look, let's take a step back from the overcomplicated, and it's not overcomplicated, the complicated.
Well, I think that's going to happen as we dive in.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. But let's talk about another one. Let's go to the next one right below it, the mathematician. Let's talk about the flower girl. We haven't talked... did we talk about that one
I think we
earlier?
mentioned it. So
Yeah,
it
but we'll just
says
very
Ever
quickly...
slightly, yeah.
each
It's-
night you learn if a demon voted.
So very simple.
Yeah.
That's a very simple one. I mean, just again, a solid... It's a solid
Which actually,
bluff character as well.
I remember I was storytelling a game and I was running a nomination through, but the nomination wasn't going to go through. So I kind of stopped tallying the votes halfway through the circle. And I think Avery pointed out to me, make sure you run the votes because if a demon voted, that could count towards the flower girl.
Yeah, no,
So
definitely.
just make sure you're completing that properly.
say a quick story. I remember I was storytelling back at the Bowls Club, and it like everybody voted. But I gave the Flower Girl a no because it was a Vortox game. And so the Flower Girl woke up the next day being like, it's a Vortox game because I was told that the demon did not vote yesterday and I was the only person who didn't vote.
They could have been poisoned from.
They could have been poisoned,
yeah.
but like, they were very certain. Like it was like, I know at least my information is wrong.
Yeah.
It was a Vortox game.
Yeah,
but, like,
that's awesome.
they were very certain that their information is wrong, and that's one of like. I guess that's one of the things I was mentioning earlier about binary information. It's very powerful if you know what the outcome should be.
It creates many different worlds. Yeah.
If you know what the outcome should be for something, and you get, I guess, the opposite of that, then you know that at the very least you've got wrong information.
Yeah.
One of the last few townsfolk to go through, I believe, is the Oracle, and it says each night you'll learn how many dead players are evil. Which could be very powerful. So, for example, bouncing to the Vigor Mortis, if they were to kill their minion to retain their ability, that minion is dead. The Oracle then gets woken up saying a 1. Like, you know, there's at least one evil player dead. Like, that's very viable.
Even with that, the Fangu.
There it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
There's where my good brain
Yeah,
was
definitely.
going. The Fangu, if the Fangu tries to kill an outsider but then dies themselves, well, that's an evil player dead, and so that would just is to the Oracle as well.
Yeah. There is only one other character that we haven't talked about, and that is the Philosopher.
It is kind of the catch-all character in a way.
Yeah, and this is the one that brings us back to one particular mechanic that we haven't really talked about that is very present in TB, in Trouble Brewing, which is drunkenness. And the Philosopher says once per game at night, you may choose a good character. You will gain that ability. But if this character is in play, they are drunk.
Yeah, so it's important to know you gain their ability. So you're still the Philosopher.
Yep.
But you just get any ability.
Get that ability, but if that person is in, that character is in play, that character becomes
That
drunk.
player is then
So
drunk,
that's so by that character I mean the person. So for example, if you said I want the Snake Charmer, the person who was currently the Snake Charmer now is drunk, and they don't know that. Obviously, the thing about drunkenness is you don't know you're drunk. You have to figure out that you've been taking it back.
One, I think, very specific. You mentioned the Snake Charmer with the Philosopher. I guess going back to
that just happened last week. Yeah,
that just happened last week. The demon became the Philosopher who was poisoned because the player is the Philosopher, not like that has the Snake Charmer's ability. And the Snake Charmer's ability is just swaps characters and alignments.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's kind of like the demon knows.
So the demon
is like, hi, I'm now the
Wow.
Philosopher. And if someone was, and I think someone was claiming to be the Philosopher in that game. And so I was like, well, it's very obvious, first of all, what they chose, but also who they chose. And who they were.
I just want to say, like, I had a really crazy interaction in one game. I was a dreamer, and based off other players' abilities, I narrowed down the demon to 1 or 2 players out of like a 12-player game. I dreamt that person. Fair enough, I got the demon that I suspected her as, but I also got, I think it was the Snake Charmer. And it turns out she was the demon who was actually Snake Charmed that evening. But then the Serenovus made her mad to be a different character. So I was like, you're either the Snake Charmer. It was so confusing.
Yeah.
And she couldn't come out to say, because it was final day, she couldn't come out to say, oh, I was Snake Charmed last night.
Oh, no.
Because she was made Serenovus mad. It was just a crazy combination. It came out later at the end of the game. It was just a crazy combination.
I can imagine that sounds like it'd be great. I also have to take a quick step back because every time that you two have been saying I'm a dreamer, all I can think of is they may say I'm a dreamer, and that's all I've been thinking for the rest of this whole podcast. I had to say that out loud.
Yeah.
No, but that interaction, you're right, which is
there's a lot of stupid stuff. Like
those interactions are specifically, I think, one of the reasons why you love this script from having talked to you about it, which is that there is so much that can happen and has happened, but realistically, it's just everything. I will say, I love when someone is made mad and you can see on their face they don't want to be doing this right now.
No,
but
definitely.
for the best of their ability, like, I'm gonna do this,
But to be fair,
I really don't
the
want to do
storyteller
this.
can kill you for that.
I know. I know.
But also, I think, I guess going on the point is like there is a lot of information, misinformation, but a lot of it is in a way solvable. Like, yes, there's a lot of chaos in the game, but you can still kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess that's in the kind of puzzle that I love about Sects and Violets, is that for the most part, you can still kind of piece everything together. I'm very much an analytical person, and I mean, that's one of the reasons I also love storytelling, is kind of taking a look at everything happening and, I guess, creating that puzzle. Because S&V is also one of my favorite scripts to run as a storyteller.
Yeah.
Ralph knows this personally.
Yeah.
I run it so often.
You do. Like, I always enjoy playing these games. Like, it's fantastic. I think my favorite is BMR, and I can't wait to dive into that one and to why that is. But S&V is really, really up
Just
there
to show
for
you,
me.
25 roles that could or could not make up a specific a game. It's like, and that's again the thing that we all know as players. But if you're just kind of you have to remember that part of it is not every role is in play. So you need to figure out what the hell is going on.
If you have an
to even
8-player
begin
game,
with.
there's only 8 characters in the game.
Yeah, it's like, so I agree. Like, I have to admit, I do like Trouble Brewing, similar to what Stephen said in their interview, which is that I love it for, even though it's introductory, quote unquote, you can still get really good and fun and get really good. But I have to admit that this one specifically just makes you go for the whole. Wait,
no.
what?
Like, with Trouble Brewing, especially playing it with people who have played Blood on the Clocktower a lot, there is so much that can happen.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Blood on the Clocktower in general is that you can put the exact same group of people with the exact same character. Like, they might not have the exact same characters, but you might put the exact same characters in a bag. Even, I guess technically, you could do
sometime,
even even everyone having the exact same roles, and 2 games will almost never run the exact same way.
No, because everyone has a different strategy to it.
Everyone has a different strategy, but also it's kind of like there may be different information that comes out, and there may be different decisions by players about whether they hide what their role is or whether they tell people. Or, like, there is so much that can happen and does happen in a game. And a lot of it is the social aspect of the game,
It's
which I really
a
like.
social game.
It is really a social game.
Yeah.
It's also like a little bit of the meta. When I say meta, I'm specifically talking about if you have the same group playing back-to-back same games. Like, they know in the previous game, well, Ralph was wait a minute, he was this character and he was doing it like that. So I definitely don't want to try and do that, because if I do that exact same play, everyone's going to go, wait a minute, this is like what we did last time.
That's the social aspect of
Exactly
the game.
right.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. This is one of those reasons why I know, and I mention this all the time, how I am the quote-unquote newbie of the game, right? And I specifically had an aversion to the werewolf style of games, Among Us games. Even during the pandemic, when Among Us was all anyone wanted to play, I hated that if you got murdered first. And because I'm the board game guy and the game guy, everyone always targets you first. And I love the fact that these games, specifically as we get into some of the bigger scripts, not bigger scripts, more quote-unquote advanced scripts, if you will, you are so engaged from the word go, and you are always learning something new in every single game, and every time you talk about it.
Even if you die in SNV, a lot of the game is still the puzzle, and you can still figure it out. You can still talk with people. You still have power to vote.
Yeah.
It's like, I say this all the time to people I know. It's like the whole kind of death is not the end in this game is the reason I love Clocktower compared to, I guess, similar games.
I do want to say,
I love that.
before we finish up, I do have one question to ask both of you. I'm going to ask myself this question as well. You're sitting down in the circle. You're about to start a game of SMV.
Yeah.
The token bag comes your way. What character are you hoping to pull out of the bag?
Oh, God. All right, for me, it would either be... I haven't played it, but I would love to either be the Snake Charmer, or I would love to be... I think I'd love to try and play the Serenovus, just to watch when I make someone mad and know what is going on with that character, and just watch that play. I think the Serenovus to me sounds like I'm the guy who likes to inject a little bit of chaos into the game every now and again.
Sure.
I think that would be me.
I've got, I think, 3.
Okay, shoot.
Savant because I love. I keep mentioning this. I love the puzzle.
Yes, that's a huge puzzle role.
And so that's one that you kind of have to be constantly thinking, and you get more information as the game progresses. And so there's kind of your information, but everyone else's information helps you figure it out. Also, philosopher, because of kind of the freedom of it, is you can choose what ability you get.
Yes.
And you can even maybe wait a couple days to kind of see what's in play and go, oh, well, I know that there's a dreamer in play, but they died night one. Like, or they died during the day.
Yeah.
On day one. So it's like,
So
I
you
can
can
take that
hijack their
ability and it
ability.
won't. But also Evil Twin.
Yeah.
And that's because I honestly don't necessarily love being evil. I have been told I am really good at it. I can be a stone cold liar.
You have fooled me on
and,
multiple occasions.
Like I can come across as good even though I am definitely not. But
I'd like to nominate Avery.
but Evil Twin, it comes with, I guess, quote unquote, outed evil. Where it's kind of, it is known that you are evil.
Yeah.
Same with on TB, there's the Baron, which you can kind of be a bit outed evil.
Yeah, I do enjoy that.
And then an experimental one, which I will only vaguely mention, is the Goblin.
Or the Vizier is out.
Or the Vizier as
Yeah.
well. But where it's kind of like the Vizier, everybody knows that you're the Vizier, while the Goblin is, if you claim to be the Goblin when you are nominated and you are executed, your team wins.
Yeah.
And so, and it's a minion. It's a minion.
That's like the Tanner. That's like the Tanner from like One Night Ultimate Werewolf, where it's like, but instead the Tanner is like, hey, if you are publicly executed at night, you're the only winner of the game. Except
okay.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
so
but,
you want people to.
Yeah, and so like that's one thing I like about being evil in games that I am is kind of the whole, I guess what you mentioned about being kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
Is like, I mean, I've even had a game where I was the demon. It was a TB game. I was the imp with a Scarlet Woman.
Yep.
Liz was my Scarlet Woman, and
cool.
it was us in like a group of new players.
Oh no.
And I was claiming to be the Saint, and then I got Slayer shot.
Yeah.
And so I died, and
Yeah.
my Scarlet Woman, who was she was sitting right next to me, became the demon. But she was rallying hard against me because she was playing the fortune teller.
Right.
And
awesome.
just the glee that I got out of being, because I was confirmed to be evil because I wasn't claiming recluse, I was claiming saint. And so like the glee that I got for just kind of be like, well, I think this is the person you should kill.
Yeah.
And
You're
Yeah,
a true
but
TB
just-
outed evil game. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, you got. Oh darn, you got
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
God.
definitely not Liz. No.
but like, yeah, being outed evil is something I really enjoy.
Yeah,
'cause
that's fun.
You can just be the chaos.
The
anyway,
gloves are off. Yeah.
So what's your answer to this question?
Look,
Ooh.
Nee, I respect the Snake Charmer claim, but I think I'm too much of a, like, I'll be very hesitant. Like, I wouldn't want to be
Definitely.
a Snake Charmer. I would love to be the Cerenovus. I have been the Cerenovus once before, and I did something wickedly evil. Very first thing, I made myself mad. So make it look like there wasn't a Cerenovus in the game. Got a lay of the land a bit. I understood one person's role was definitely this. At least that's what he told me. So I made him mad to be his own role.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Because he knows there's a Cerenovus in play, but he can't say anything.
But he can't say anything. And I have been at one other time, actually. I made someone mad that they were just some other role. But I pretended to be their role, and I was Cerenovus mad. And I did it the whole game. So they couldn't actually get any information out there, and I was just spilling filth.
I love that.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I love being just the gloves are off chaos minion. But the puzzle fun is definitely there. But yeah, just if I'm a minion, it's just, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a long one, and that's in.
They're going to get there.
Hey-oh.
Sorry
No,
about
that's
that. I
fine.
talk so much.
No,
it's not you.
This is specific. We call it a deep dive.
And I
for a
don't even
reason.
think we've touched the surface on the deep dive, to be honest. Like,
Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
there's a lot I can say. There's a lot I can say.
And there's a lot more stories that you could have told as well about games that we've played. And you said you've run this game so many times, but
I think at this point I've played at least At least a few hundred games.
Wow.
Well,
I
And
think-
story told, I think at this point, at least 100.
I think if I'm going to put a number on, I reckon 20 SMV games for me or so, like
Two.
story
Yeah.
told and played. But yeah.
2 for me.
And it's like, I'm definitely not the person with the highest number out there. Like, there
Oh.
are so many people who've played so many games, but that, like, the amount of experience I have with this game is one of the reasons I storytell it so much, is because I just inherently know a lot of the interactions that happen, which is why
Yeah.
when Ralph is running a game, like, sometimes if we're running 2 separate games, Ralph will kind of come up to me and be like,
100%.
hey, how do I run this?
But you know what?
Um,
In terms of that, if I get a rule wrong and a player asks a clarifying question, I'm like, well, I will rule it like this.
And that's
Even though I might be wrong, that's just my interpretation, and that's what I've done, and I can't backtrack that. So
the
yeah.
flexibility of this game is something that I like as well. Is like, I always say to myself, or like to my players, is I will rule things in a specific way. If you ask me how I rule them, I will tell you.
Yeah,
If I rule things differently than how people might expect, I will tell you that also.
exactly.
But also, if I have ruled something incorrectly, or like, I guess, quote unquote incorrectly, take my ruling for this game as what is happening in this game,
But
and
we'll
I
fix
will
it next
remember to rule it differently in future games. Because, yeah, there is kind of a lot of, I guess, flexibility for a storyteller.
I
in
do want to say
Clocktower.
as well, like we spoke a little bit about custom scripts tonight. What's really cool, a really cool interaction that I found out through AJ as well, was that if the monk is in the game and the monk just is pick a player and you're safe from the demon, that also includes any demon effects. So if the monk was to pick you and it's a Vortox game, you will get true information.
Right.
You won't get that false information because the monk ability protects you from the demon.
One situation which I think you may have mentioned in the Trouble Brewing one is the
Yeah.
monk picking the imp.
Yeah.
The monk picking the imp who then tries to stop us, and they can't.
To try and kill themselves.
To try and
Yeah.
kill themselves in order to make
No-
a
no one
minion
will
the
die.
demon.
Yeah.
No one dies because it's like there's a bit of flexibility with the monk because a lot of people tend to think it's all effects, but for the most part it's negative effects.
Okay.
So, for example, a monk protected minion can still become the demon if the imp
Yeah.
passes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like, and those are kind of the outside interactions that I know so much about because of
Yeah.
the
There's so
experience I
much.
played.
You don't notice until you put those characters in a
No,
room together.
definitely.
You don't
Like,
notice those interactions.
A lot of it, like I made a script for the con.
Yep.
In the script competition, which I still don't know if I'm actually in the top 8 for that or not. But it's like there's a lot you can think about theoretically.
Yes.
But it's very different actually playing it.
And
Exactly.
I think that's why as well, one of the things that I've heard both of you talk about before is the debrief. And when people are like, you can hear people talking about a game for longer than they actually played the game.
Yep.
Like we can knock out a
Yeah.
game of Trouble Brewing in 45 minutes. Wow, it's a great game. And the debrief will go for an hour and a half. And you'll be sitting there going, oh, and that's the thing. It's not only just about the interactions. It's about the people that are playing those interactions. As they, oh, you got me, you
Yeah,
got me, like that,
spending-
and then and you can talk about how you came to that point. I think that's why as well. I kept getting drawn back to this game as well, in a weird sort of, in a weird way, and obviously why I can see why it is as big as it is. I think
Spending
that's great.
half an hour in the car park afterwards talking
Oh,
about the game.
I've done that. I think everyone who's sort of dived into Clocktower at some point has spent 30 minutes in a car park at least.
All right, guys, and speaking of the debrief, it's time for us to wrap this one up, though. So I'd like to, first and foremost, thank you, Avery, for joining us tonight. It was very special to have another local storyteller and a fanatic of the game joining us at the table. It was just me and Ralph last time, and now we got to increase the people at the table. And so...
And the quality.
Absolutely. Quality.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
you're
quality
welcome.
just up here.
And
Thank you
so...
so much for having me.
Well, no, that's okay. It's our pleasure.
I've really enjoyed having
So-
this conversation about SMB with you both.
It's a lot of fun. So we've done our deep dive on TB. We've done our deep dive on SMV. What's next?
Bad Moon Rising, BMR. This is going to be our next one that we're going to get recorded and get out to you guys. We are really actually enjoying this Deep Dive series as well.
Yeah.
We may have to get you back on for that one as well. 'Cause I know, and also Damien has said that he will be joining us for the next one because he is absolutely spewing his fist out
Oh, really?
on the 2 script that he's like, oh my God, I really want to get back into it. But if you enjoyed what you listened to today, make sure that you click all the like, follow buttons on your podcasting app of choice. If you're on YouTube, make sure that you click the like and subscribe button. If you're not on YouTube, go to our channel at VG Gateway. There you will find our latest, our interview with Stephen Medway, the original storyteller. You'll also find our deep dive into Trouble Brewing, as well as our usual podcast and a whole myriad of board games and stuff that we are that we're putting out there. I also want to say a big shout out to the influx of new people that we've had join our the humble little community since the interview. We actually had about 50 people subscribe up to the community. So that thank you very much. And
Oh, yeah, Mum shared us around her book club as well.
look,
I've been sharing it.
Oh,
with
look.
people online that I
Yeah,
play.
Oh,
absolutely.
really?
Well, look,
Oh,
if-
sweet.
look,
Online,
so thank you so much for sharing. We really enjoyed it. But until next time, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you in the next episode, hopefully of Bad Moon Rising. I say hopefully, definitely of Bad Moon